Good morning, dear students, and I welcome you back to the English online class. And I hope you do remember that we people have started the new chapter, Birth by A.J. Cronin. And as I have told you, that this is a very beautiful chapter, which is rendering the message about first belief, faith, trust, then working hard to get something, and then here in this, it has also been shown that even in our devastating state of mind, even if we are disappointed or filled with sorrow, sometimes a deed or a work of ours can bring us out from that. Here, the story, as I have told you, is about a couple, but the main hero is a doctor. The doctor's name is Andrew Manson. He is a newly passed out medical person, and he is assisting one another doctor, like how when you come out and you just do work under a senior fellow. In the same way, he was assisting one another doctor named as Edward Page. And the story is of a time period when he happens to meet his girlfriend. He went on a date with his girlfriend, and it has not been mentioned what happened, why he seems to be so tensed, what went wrong, but at one particular part we people can understand little bit what might have possibly happened. Okay, let's continue that what I was talking about. And then the story revolves around a couple, the Morgan couple. The thing is that this Morgan couple, they were married for 20 years and they were not having a child, and this was the first child of theirs whom his wife, Morgan's wife, was going to deliver. From that itself, we try to understand what utmost importance that child is having in the life of this Morgan couple. 20 years, my dear children, after marriage, they're going to have their first baby. And then the whole story starts. Andrew came back home around some midnight and found Joe Morgan pacing very impatiently in front of his house. And the moment he saw the doctor, he was very happy, relieved. And he tells that his missus is going to deliver the baby before time, it seems. So he came to fetch him. And Andrew, immediately he comes out from his deep thoughts, which were lingering to his girlfriend Christine, whom he met and came back, and he was highly depressed. He left all those things one side and he brought his medical kit and started walking with Joe Morgan towards his house. And while he was going, he never have ever thought that this night is going to be a little different night for him and his stay in that place called as Bellany. Then further we saw that he reached the house, and Joe Morgan, he preferred to stay outside out of stress, and he said that he trusts the doctor, and the doctor went up, and there beside the lady who was going to deliver the baby, means Mrs. Morgan, two more ladies were there. One lady, she was the mother of Mrs. Morgan, an aged lady in 70s or something, and another one was a midwife. I have told you who a midwife is. Please don't, it's just a joke. Midwife doesn't mean the middle of the wife. It means that the ladies who in the olden times were given an equal importance regarding a doctor for the delivery of a baby, or for the confinement purpose. So their midwife was also there. Doctor did the checkup and he found that still there was time for the baby to be delivered. And then the old lady, she offered him a cup of tea, and he understood that she don't want him to go away from there. So he just consoled her and gave her a affirmation that I won't go till the work gets over. And then after this, they both sat down in the kitchen. In between, once he went up and he checked and came, and he found that still there was time. In the previous video, I told you about the two types of delivery that takes place. And then he was sitting down in the kitchen, and there was complete silence with only a few noises that could be heard, like the tick tock of the wall, and then the grunting or the rustling of the cinders in the grate, and then the slow pacing of Joe Morgan, impatient, tensed Joe Morgan outside on the stone pavement, maybe, most probably. And then the lady, Morgan's mother, means the Mrs. Morgan's mother, was sitting down. She was continuously staring him, looking at him. Meanwhile, our Dr. Andrew Manson, he was deeply engrossed in his own thought. Actually, the problem was that in past few days, most probably he had come across certain, you can say that episodes or scenes which has totally shooken him up. Like one he thought about Bramwell, the other place he thought about Edward Page. In both the cases, they were either linked to with another lady, or otherwise they were not happy with their own wife, and or otherwise they were linked with a lady who was deceiving him. So he found that all these marriages were utter failures. And for him, marriage means something heavenly, something idyllic. And until and unless he imagined marriage to be in that way, he cannot relate it with Christine, whom he loves so much. He was very much engrossed in his own thought that he suddenly got up when he was called by the old lady sitting down in front of him. The old lady said to the doctor that, Doctor, I want to tell you what Susan said. Now, who is this Susan? Susan is Mrs. Morgan, Mrs. Susan Morgan, who is going to deliver the baby after 20 years of their marriage. And Susan had said to convey this message to the doctor that she need not be given chloroform in case if it does any harm to the child. A mother only can think of all these things, of bearing the pain, a delivery. It is said that when delivery takes place, it is like breaking of bones. That pain, multiple fractures that takes place, and the pain, that pain which takes place, it is somewhat equivalent to that. And then that lady, she is ready to bear the pain because after 20 years they're going to get the baby. And she's so very eager that she's ready to bear any kind of pain. Chloroform, all of you know what it is, a kind of an anesthetic given to make a person unconscious. So when the old lady said that she is very eager on the child, and so do we, the doctor said that please don't worry, the anesthetic is not going to do harm to anybody, neither the mother nor the child. This is what we have done in the previous class. Now let's continue. Here the nurse's voice was heard calling from the top landing. Andrew glanced at the clock, which now showed 3:30. He rose and went up to the bedroom. He perceived that he might now begin his work. An hour lapsed. It was a long, harsh struggle. Then, as the first streaks of dawn strayed past the broken edges of the blind, the child was born, lifeless. Now here you just see this part. While Andrew and the old lady, they were talking, the nurse gave a call from the top, means from the bedroom, that the time has come. And then Andrew, he looked at his watch and it was showing 3:30, 3:30. And then he got up, he went to the bedroom, and he understood that now he should begin his work. Some an hour passed. After an hour, it has been said that it was a very long and harsh struggle. And after an hour, when the first streak of dawn, means the first ray of light, the first light of the sun came through the broken edges of the blind, means the blind means the curtain type which was there, from the broken blind here means maybe the wooden one maybe, and through the broken part of that the sunlight entered inside, and the baby was born, the baby whom they waited for 20 years. That baby was born, but the baby was lifeless. No life at the baby. A dead baby. A stillborn baby. Just imagine. 20 years of waiting, and this is what the family is going to receive. A stillborn baby. As he gazed at the still form, a shiver of horror passed over Andrew. After all that he had promised, his face, heated with his own exertions, chilled suddenly. He hesitated, torn between his desire to attempt to resuscitate the child and his obligation towards the mother, who was herself in a desperate state. The dilemma was so urgent, he did not solve it consciously, blindly, instinctively. He gave the child to the nurse and turned his attention to Susan Morgan, who now lay collapsed, almost pulseless, and not yet out of the ether upon her side. His haste was desperate, a frantic race against her ebbing strength. It took him only an instant to smash a glass ampule and inject the medicine. Then he flung down the hypodermic syringe and worked unsparingly to restore the placid woman. After a few minutes of feverish effort, her heart strengthened. He saw that he might safely leave her. He swung round in his shirt sleeves, his hair sticking to his damp robe. Where's the child? Okay, now the baby was in the doctor's hand, dead, stillborn, lifeless. And while he gazed, means he looked at that not moving, still form means the baby in his hand. Form here is the baby's body. Still means which is not moving. A kind of a shiver means डर की लहर बोलते हैं ना, exactly that it passed over Andrew. What all things he had said. When he had entered, Joe said that I trust you. When this Mrs. Morgan's mother said that not to give chloroform, he said that don't worry, nothing will happen. After all the promises that he had made, this is what he will give them, a stillborn baby. Because of his own exertion, means the tension and the exertion, suddenly his body went chilled. It happens like when you are too angry, sometimes your body goes cold. Sometimes when you are very tensed, your body gets cold. So the same thing he was going on. Now he was under a dilemma. The dilemma was that he was carrying a stillborn baby and there front of him whom he want to bring back to life. He want to try. And the other place, the mother was lying down. The mother who was losing her consciousness moment by moment. Means she was in a very terrible state after the delivery. Now this dilemma he solved, but not consciously, means not without any kind of thinking and all. It was just like instantly चुटकी में उसने जो सोचा जो समझा he did it. And what he did, immediately he turned towards the nurse and he gave the child to her, and he paid his entire attention to the mother, Susan Morgan, who was lying down in front of him, all collapsed under the effect of that chloroform anesthetic, and her pulse rate was falling down. In a hurry, in a haste means in a hurry, desperately, with a, like as if though he was having a very fast race or something against the ebbing strength, means the passing out strength of the lady. He took out one ampule, glass ampule, the vial, the injection. He broke that from the top, took out the injection and injected into her body. A hypodermic syringe. She flung down the hypodermic syringe. And then he started working on this now emotionless, lying down, pulseless lady. He started working, like rubbing the hand, leg, etc., etc. And then after some efforts, feverish efforts means continuous non-stop efforts, her heart strengthened, and he saw that now that lady or the mother could be left all alone, so he can pay his entire attention to the baby. Andrew's condition was very bad. He turned round. His shirt sleeves were in a terrible state. His hairs were sticking because of the sweat to his eyebrows. He turned and he asked, "Where's the child?" Now see where the child was. The midwife made a frightened gesture. She had placed it beneath the bed. In a flash, Andrew knelt down, fishing amongst the sodden newspapers below the bed. He pulled out the child, a boy, perfectly formed. The limp, warm body was white and soft as tallow. The cord, hastily slashed, lay like a broken stem. The skin was of a lovely texture, smooth and tender. The head lolled on the thin neck. The limbs seemed boneless. Now, when he asked, "Where's the child?" he expected the nurse to be carrying the child, and when he looked round, the child could not be seen, and he asked the nurse, "Where's the child?" The nurse, she made a frightened gesture. Gesture means movement, okay. She made a frightened movement, like as if though she is frightened, and very quietly she just showed where it is. What she had done, she had placed the child under the bed. Immediately, Andrew, he knelt down. He knelt down means he came on his knee and then fishing amongst the sodden newspapers. Sodden means wet newspaper. For your information, when the baby is born, the fluid inside the mother's womb is sticking to the baby's body, which is cleansed afterwards. So, because of that fluid, what the nurse had done, the nurse had wrapped the baby in newspaper and kept under the bed. So Andrew, he knelt down and fishing amongst them means taking out, searching among the wet newspapers, he pulled out the child. The child, a baby boy, was perfectly formed, means all the parts of the body were so beautifully formed. And then he says, the limp, warm body was white and soft as tallow. The limp here means the motionless. Warm body means the baby has just come out from the mother's womb, so it is still warm and it was white and soft in color. Hmm? And it looked like a tallow. Tallow means like the fat that is found, the animal fat which is found to make the like as you can see soap and candles and all. Then the cord, you all might be knowing that a child is attached to the mother's womb through an umbilical cord, जो नाभि से जुड़ा होता है. So it was broken. Definitely the baby has to come out, then that cord has to be cut off, and then the cord was lying down like a broken stem because no life. And then the skin was of a lovely texture, smooth and tender. I hope you might have carried a newly born baby, maybe once or twice in your hand and in your lap, and then you might have felt that softness, the beautiful texture of a newly born baby, very soft. And then the head lolled on the thin neck. Lolled means one side it was hanging. That is lolled. The limbs seemed boneless. The legs were motionless, no? So it felt like as if though no bones are there in that. Still kneeling, Andrew stared at the child with a haggard frown. The whiteness meant only one thing: asphyxia, pallida, and his mind, unnaturally tense, raced back to a case he once had seen in the Samaritan to the treatment that had been used. Instantly, he was on his feet. If you remember, last time when I started this chapter, I have told you that there is one important thing that we have to learn in our life, that is, life cannot be run with the help of a book alone. Our practical knowledge, our experiences that we gather from the surrounding helps us a lot. This is one such example. While he was kneeling down with the baby in his lap, he looked at the baby, and then a frown came on his forehead, like as if though he has suddenly recognized what might have happened. So, actually, he had recognized that the baby has turned whitish in color. So, that whitishness can be only one thing, that is lack of oxygen inside the baby's body. That state is called as asphyxia pallida. Okay, when carbon dioxide is more and oxygen is less in the body. And then suddenly he remembered one such case which he happened to witness, and then he decided that I will use the same treatment which was used over there. Instantly he got up on his feet, and when he got up, listen to what he had said to the old lady, to the midwife. Get me hot water and cold water, he threw out to the nurse, and basins too, quick, quick. But doctor, she flattered, her eyes on the pallid body of the babe of the child. Quick, he shouted. Okay, now what he demanded? He said, I want hot water and cold water. He threw out to the nurse. He threw out to the nurse doesn't means that he threw something on the nurse. He threw out means the words were thrown to the nurse. Means it was a kind of an order which was given to the nurse, and the nurse she faltered. She faltered means like you just stammer, no, you want to say something, but like that. So like that only she said, but doctor, actually she was looking at that non-movable or the still body of that baby. Then the doctor, he shouted and he said, quick. And then snatching a blanket, he laid the child upon it and began the special method of restoration. The basins arrived, the ewer, the big iron kettle, Frantically, he splashed cold water into one basin, into the other, he mixed water as hot as his hand could bear. Then, like some crazy juggler, he hurried the child between the two, now plunging it into the icy, now into the steaming bath. Okay. Now, while he had asked that lady to bring that, he took one blanket and he laid the child on it and he began the special method of respiration. The basin had come and the kettle, the water, hot water, cold water, everything arrived over there. Now the two basins were kept side by side. In one, he poured cold water. In the other one, he put hot water and mixed some other water so that it will be only that much hot how much his hand can withstand. And then you all might have once at least you might have once in your life you might have gone to the circus and there you might have seen a juggler. You know juggler, the one who juggles with the balls and all, too many balls rotating in his hand and nicely without dropping even a single ball. Yeah, that's called, that fellow is called as a juggler. And right now Andrew turned out to be a juggler. What he did, you know, he's hurried the child between the two. What is this two? One basin of cold water, one basin of hot water, and now plunging it into the icy, now into the steaming bath. Thinking itself gives goosebumps, that how is it possible, a newly born baby basin with water, and how he was means if I'll say it will be like dipping something into the like if you're dipping a french fry into the sauce. Now in the same way here also the baby was literally plunged, put into one tub in which cold water was there and then immediately taken out and then again it was put into the hot water. So horrifying scene it would have been if we were there, because just a newly born baby being done like that, for one moment you will feel that the doctor gone mad or what to do such kind of things with a baby. But then he had decided that he has to do this. 15 minutes passed. Sweat was now running into Andrew's eyes, blinding him. One of his sleeves hung down, dripping. His breath came pantingly, but no breath came from the lax body of the child. 15 minutes he did this. Andrew's sweat started passing over his, running down through his eyes. And you know, when you run a long distance and you start sweating and the eye sweat drops comes over your eyelid, your eyes will start closing down automatically, means blinding you. Same thing happened with him. His one sleeve has gone down and because it was going inside the tub it started dripping. His breath became very unstable. He was panting, means what do you say in Hindi, means बहुत जोर जोर से सांसें ले रहा था वो. But the lax body, means the rigid, the still, the motionless body of the baby which was there in his hand, no breath came from there, not even a single take by the child. The rest of the part we will take in the next video. Till then, goodbye and take care.